This is Foundations in Pre-Cal 10, Lesson 1.4, Part A, on page 29. All right. So this is review of last year, but it is stuff that seems to get forgotten between grade 9 and grade 10. So this is using factors to combine the exponent laws. So we're going to use multiple laws together. So part 1, 3 students are attempting to simplify um, following expression, and here are their answers, and which one do you think is right? Well, if we multiply this whole expression out, we get 3x squared times 5x cubed. That equals 3 times x times 5 times x times x times x. And then if we simplify that, we have 3 times 5 is 15, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So x times itself 5 times, which is x to the 5, which means Laura was correct. Part 2, use factors to explain this division question. So if we write this out in expanded form, this would be in the numerator, we would have 6a times a times a times a times a times a, 6 a's, and we're going to divide it by, because remember that's what a fraction means, it's literally divide by 3a times a. And then we can do some simplifying or reducing here. 6 and 3 have a common factor of 3, so if I go 6 divided by 3, that's 2, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. And then 1a cancels 1a, 1a cancels 1a. Now, of course, what we're actually doing there is dividing the numerator and the denominator both by 1, so we to be correct with this, we should write this as becomes a 1, and this becomes a 1. And then a divided by a is 1, and a divided by a is 1. But because this is all multiplied together on the top and the bottom, the 1s are irrelevant. We just have to remember that it's not nothing there. It is a 1. So this becomes 2a to the 4. And then, when you first simplify this, you could write it as over 1, but we don't leave that 1 there when we finish. Okay? All right, example 1, state the simplified form of the following. Pause the video, try it yourself, see what you get. For most of these, I'm just going to write the answer in. Because there's no exponent, there's nothing complicated about this with any of these. So this is -7 times 6, which is -42. And then that's a to the 8 times a to the 12. And when we multiply powers, we add the exponents, so that becomes a to the 20. This one is going to be 3 times 6 is 18 times a to the 4 plus 5 plus 3, which, I may or may not write that one out, but then this becomes 18 to the 12, or sorry, 18a to the 12. Let me just fix that. Got ahead of myself there. It's 18a to the power of 12. The divisions, I think it's always worth writing the divisions out as a division. It just seems to make everything easier. And remember that you're dividing by both of these things. It's just simpler. -16 divided by -2 is +8. And I've got n to the 5 over n to the 1. That leaves with n to the 4. And if I were to write it out like I did up at the top here, I've got 5 n's on the top and 1 on the bottom. So one of the tops cancels with the 1 on the bottom, and I'm again left with just 1 in the denominator. Looking at example D here, the y to the 5's just cancel out, and 20 divided by 5 is 4. This one, 30 and 45 can both be divided by 15, so this part here simplifies to 2 over 3, and the b to the 14 over b to the 10 leaves me with b to the 4 in the numerator. So I could write it as 2 over 3 b to the 4, but it's probably, depending on what I'm going to do with it, it's probably more useful to write it like that and leave it as just as a fraction like that. But either of those is correct and fine. Okay, simplify part 2. Um, this is going, I'm going to combine my x's and then combine my y's. You could rewrite this as x to the 5, x cubed times y to the 8, y to the 4. And when you're first learning, that's probably a good idea. But since this is review, we can just maybe skip some of that and just combine it on the fly. You always need to do what you need to do to get the right answers. So if you need to write out the intermediate step anywhere of these questions, you go right ahead and do that, okay? All right, my x's, I've got 5 minus 3, so it's going to be x squared, and then y to the 7. This might be one that you want to write out. I don't feel like it today, so I'm not going to, but my -3 times -4 is 12. And then I've got b to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and c to the 1, 2, 3, 4. This one, my 10 and my 4, I can divide those both by 2, so I get 5 over 2 times, actually I'm just going to extend this out, and then I get e to the 4 in the numerator and f to the 5 in the numerator. And so I would probably write that out a little bit more clearly like this, f to the 5 over 2. Okay, so that is that for this part of the lesson. That's lesson A. Go do practice questions 1 to 4 and then come back for part B of the video. Bye.